Scene 3, take 5.
No, it's fine. Alright, this is the season finale of Stories.
Yes.
But it is also the end, definitively, of
Homegirls.
The title of the episode is From 20-Something to Ascension. And those are two separate songs. Those are not one song. As again, our running theme of songs as titles. So 20-something is again, she's gonna charge us from SZA's album Control. 20-something is the closer of the album, and that song is basically about it's to all the people that are in their 20s,
yes,
from 20 to 30, in that age range, and it kind of just talks about the experiences of being in your 20s and what that's kind of like.
Yes. And
it's sort of a ballad, but it's sort of like an acoustic kind of song. It's one of my favorite. I think it is my favorite from the album. Gets me every time. And then Ascension is a song by Jhené Aiko and my favorite singer of all time, Brandy. Yes.
That song makes you
it does. And it's about, I guess, how I've interpreted it. Because all of these ways I'm saying the song is how I interpret it. But it's about reaching a new space, coming out of something you have ascended.
Yes.
Ascension. So this episode, we couldn't decide on what the title. We went through 17 different songs and trying to figure out what captures this episode. And I think because we couldn't choose, I was like, well, why don't we just they go from one status to the next. Because SZA's song 20-something is really, it's not a definitive thing. It's just kind of like talking about sort of the struggles and sort of the life of 20-something. And so then Ascension being like the happy note is getting a happy ending.
And I'm just thinking about the song Ascension, and just like the lyrics of it and how that flows. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? What are you trying to lose? And just that goes into the episode.
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for?
But yeah, so that ties into the episode of what it's about, because it is the end, like we said, for this friend group, for these women.
Hey Mo, thanks for coming.
So, episode opens with the return of Jared, which I hope the audience didn't see coming. That was also the point. He has returned. Because we see her waiting on somebody, and we're like, who the heck is she waiting for? And then he's like, hey, Mom. And he's trying to use the nickname because he's trying to get back in. Right, and they have a conversation, and she says, you're late, and then he says, I know. And I wrote this entire episode. I believe myself. I did write this episode myself. And the reason I chose to do that, and I didn't want us to see the conversation, I kind of wanted those lines to speak for themselves when he comes up and he says, hey, and he calls her by the nickname that he gave her, and then she says, you're late. She doesn't say anything else. She just says, you're late. And the way that she says that's the anger, that's the we didn't get closure part coming out, and then he says, I know, very apologetic, and you're late has multiple meanings in terms of he's late in terms of this apology. Yes. You're literally late for this meeting. You have always been late in terms of loving me back. You have been late in every aspect of our relationship and our interaction. It's too late. It's late. You're late. And then he's like, I know, which is I'm sorry. I'm late for today. So I'm not even gonna say I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say I know I'm late. So you know that I truly.
I'm acknowledging that I'm
right, and I acknowledge. Excuse my language. I acknowledge the fuck ups that happened in our relationship.
And he hasn't been present, and he's realizing everything.
And her waiting on him, it itself that speaks to the relationship. She was always waiting on him to show up. She was always waiting on him to love her in the correct way. Because I'm going to say they did love each other. They just didn't love each other in the correct way, and they weren't right for each other.
I'm glad it's the correct way, because love can be toxic.
But you have to know people's love languages. That's a whole conversation.
Yes.
The next thing that we get is later on that day, she's rehearsing with Brooke, which again comes full circle from Brooke's episode where she comes back to dancing, and we get to see them in their
element.
In their element, dancing, and that dance was created by the actors themselves.
Yes.
So that was a good one to shoot as well, in terms of them figuring out the dance for themselves. But in this scene, we get to see Brooke kind of check Simone and be like, "You have one conversation with this man.
Talking about this.
You have one conversation with this man, and he's already back in your good graces."
Right.
And as a best friend, that's right. And they kind of get into an argument, and then she tries to throw Derek in her face.
How is this any different from between you and Derek?
Derek is part of our friend group. We were friends and still are friends. You and Jared were strangers. You hooked up once, and then got together.
Tit for tat.
They're going tit for tat, right? And that was a great scene to play out because they are actually best friends in real life.
And try to compare negative stories or negative.
Right,
Derek has been
it's
as
throwing
attentive
blows.
as he should be in y'all's relationship.
You don't have to make this about me. It's a decision that you have to make. You want to be a petty, disrespectful, manipulative, lying, cheating asshole? Or someone who's supportive and respectful, funny, loyal, and honest, and actually likes you?
You're right. It is my decision. Not yours, not Jared's, not anyone else.
This one is the closure of the interview job conversation that Brooke and Derek have had. And we figure out that Derek has gotten the job. This is also very inappropriate time for them to argue. They are at Alexis's party. They have thrown Alexis a party for getting into the grad school of her choice. And here these two people are arguing at her party. It's because of all the alcohol, the wine that they were drinking on the table. And they have an argument about the job, and we figure out that through the line of dialogue, which I wish we could have shown if we had more time, if we had a budget, if we could get scheduling, down to a T, it would have been shot. But in the line of dialogue, we get that Brooke had a very negative experience in that interview, in that boardroom, with who those people are. They are white men, and how she was treated, or how she felt in that one, because I didn't want it to be blatant when I wrote the scene. I wanted it to be very microaggressions. I wanted it to be very light, very subtle. So it made her feel that way. She shares it with this man that she used to date, that is also still her friend, and he has gaslit her. So then it sort of comes up in this room when she's like, "Oh, you got the job over me." So what I was feeling was correct. Right. And then she sort of goes into this, or they get into this argument where again it's another tit for tat scene, and it brings up more of their history. And she sort of checks him at the end of the conversation. She just wants him to remember that sort of invisible backpack that he carries of privilege. You walk around with this stuff in your invisible backpack, so you need to be aware of that.
My experience in this world, all of our experience in this world, are determined by multiple factors that neither you nor anyone who isn't one of us could truly understand. You are a cisgendered, heterosexual, able-bodied, college-educated Christian man. You need to realize you came into this world with a shit ton of privilege that affords you the opportunity to exist in the way many, even your own friends, cannot. So let me make this clear. You may not look like them, but you got that job because to them, it's better to have a dick in their office, their club, and in their world than it's to have any kind of vagina. So let's have to delude ourselves into thinking that in this society, black doesn't mean man, and woman doesn't mean white.
And the final scene of the episode, the girls are all hanging together. It is Layla's birthday party. And who shows up but the man, the agent of chaos, Derek, to give her a card, a birthday gift. And it's very awkward and he leaves. And then the final scene of the episode is with our lead character, Brooke, chasing him down the stairwell and them getting the closure that they need. So again, the ascension theme coming back into play. Everybody has received what they needed to receive out of all of the relationships, out of all of the dynamics, out of all the storylines.
All of our experience in this world are determined by multiple factors that neither you nor anyone who isn't one of us could truly understand. You are a cisgendered, heterosexual, able-bodied, college-educated Christian man. You need to realize you came into this world with a shit ton of privilege that affords you the opportunity to exist in the way many, even your own friends, cannot. So let me make this clear.
So my favorite scene, actually I have two. So my first think one of my favorite scenes of this episode is the argument between Derek and Brooke. And I remember talking to you on the phone, and we were going back and forth, and I remember we were pulling this from Ava DuVernay, from Queen Sugar, from that episode where the sisters are talking, and they have that argument, and it goes tit for tat, and they're really digging at each other. And I remember you wanted to emulate that in this episode, and just really, yes, and just the way you were able to kind of get all this information and put that into conversation and make it very relevant to now, and because of current events that have happened before we even kind of started filming and started doing that script, it's very prominent during this time, and it was just, it's interesting to see that conversation, and it's very inspiring, at least to me as a writer, and just to people being creative, that you don't, even if you're not a very outspoken person in social justice, you can put that into your creative work, and you can put that into being creative and having that conversation and having that language and creating that dialogue.
I love you too. But I can't lose myself loving you.
My second favorite is the scene between Jared and Simone. And that last conversation and having that closure. And for me, it kind of reminds me of Insecure and that last episode between Issa and Lawrence.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. You see right
I know
here?
that.
Yes. And it's like having that closure and really getting everything out that you need to, because sometimes even in relationships you don't necessarily have that closure. You just like, it's done. Okay, done. It is what it is. And sometimes you need that closure to kind of just close that door and not leave it open for anything else or anything that you may want to be said or have in your head that you may want to say. So those are my two favorite.
I'm not gonna have a favorite scene for this episode because I like every single scene that we have in there, and that's gonna sound biased because I wrote the whole episode.
That's fine.
But yeah, I liked every single scene for a different reason. I liked the argument scene for the same reason that you said, because that's who I am as a person. I'm very much an advocate and activist. You know, that's the things that I care about. So I wanted to put that in my work. It's something that I plan to continue to do. I always want to do work that is more than just simply entertainment. I liked the scene between both scenes between Jared and Simone for how it speaks to their relationships. Or relationship, and how the relationship what it has become, and how the character development that we see for both of them. I like that stairwell scene. Again, it's another closure scene, and it's a testament to the actors throughout the entire episode for how they play all of those scenes. But yeah, I like that one as well because it's very much closure and it's very adult. Like you said, it reminds me of Insecure.
Right, so
You go like that, and then you stepping out and down. Get that motherfucker!
One more time. From the same line, how can you be this thoughtless? And then we continue.
How can you be this self-absorbed and thoughtless? Neither anyone who nor anyone who isn't neither you nor anyone who isn't one of us. Is that right?
So, directing this finale. Majority of the scenes were shot on the last day of filming, so it was kind of bittersweet because it was most of the scenes entailed all of the girls together, so we didn't really get to get much of that cast experience, you know, being on the set together. Like I said before, you know, it's kind of difficult trying to get them to be quiet and continue to do their stuff, and also the scheduling, that is another thing. But it was a very fun day to do. In terms of shot choices and creative things that I made, I framed the scenes between Jared and Simone in exactly the same way. I needed affinity in those shots because of the similarity between them. So she's waiting on him, he then ends up waiting on her. She's upset, but he's anxious. he arrives late, she arrives late. He is apologetic, and then when she comes around, she's apologetic because she doesn't want to let go. She knows it's gonna hurt him. All of these different things. He doesn't want to let go. That's why he's come back. I'm sorry. And they're sitting in the same set of couches. You know, I wanted similarity in that because it speaks. The duality speaks to.
And after even just seeing that scene, I felt a little bit emotional.
And in that, I wrote that scene and directed it the way that I wanted because in the way that I did. Not that I wanted because I didn't. But yeah, I wanted to show Jared developing and give him layers because I didn't want the majority of these characters to be one-note characters because people are nuanced, people are layered, people are complex, people are complicated. And I wanted to show this sort of softer side of him, this vulnerable side of him, this anxious side of him, that we kind of begin to look at him differently. So then I wanted the audience to feel for him in that moment. In terms of the argument scene, that one was a lot. Again, that was a very Shonda Rhimes inspired scene.
Yes, it was.
And so there was monologues going back and forth, but we had to adapt the day of the show because we were on a time we were on a time crunch, so my teacher had to go and we needed to get all the shots that we needed to do that day, and that scene was taking really long because they're monologues, so it's kind of hard to learn monologues, and because we don't have, again, a budget. These are people who also have other jobs. They can't dedicate the time to just simply learn the lines. So when we get to set, we have to learn it and then shoot it. So it's very difficult for Jacob to get the lines down. It was even difficult for Lauren. I was in the room with Lauren, like trying to read the lines with her to get it stuck in her head, and it was kind of still hard because it was long. So I had to edit while I was directing. So I'd be like, okay, while they're saying this, cut, no, take this out, take this out, take this out. And I think that's also the beauty with being both the writer and the director of the show and the creator of the show is I know what needs to be kept and what doesn't need to be kept. Because I don't know what an experience is like directing somebody else's script, and I don't think I'd feel comfortable removing lines of dialogue because I'm like, well, what if that is really necessary what if that's a character component? And I couldn't even shoot that scene in a fluid take because I wanted to give them time to just learn one section of the line and then call cut, and I would change the angle, say it so that way we can get the fluid motion, so we can get the reaction of like Lauren responding to what Jacob said, and then cut, move back over here after Lauren said her piece, get your reaction to what she's saying. And just keep going back and forth. So it was like, cut, mine move the camera, mine move the camera, mine move the camera, back and forth. But then it came out great afterwards, so it's fine. The message is still in there. Nothing really it wasn't detrimental to do that. And then we already talked about the Jared and Simone scene, so then that ending scene was really nice. You see the colors in the shot, and everybody's wearing different colors. That's so pretty. That's so pretty. That's so pretty. And they're like having, fun, and then Derek comes in to ruin this with his awkwardness and give him a card.
And Brooke is just like,
Brooke is kind of like, okay, this man is here. Why is he here?
She's over it. She's over
in my house because it is in her house. So you've shown up at my house. Who told you to knock on my door?
Right. And Simone and Alexis are just like, I'm about to eat these chips. Excuse me.
That was easy because we did that in 2 takes. We did one angle on the girl, and then we did one angle on him, and that was literally it. And then we sent my teacher on her way because that was the last scene we shot that day. Good thing we still had daylight. But yeah, so that was pretty easy. There's no real lines. He just comes in, he says, I came to give you this. And then the scene with the stairwell was actually shot on a different day. But that scene, I was also having trouble directing, so I was getting a little frustrated because we had shot it on Jacob first, so then we had to do the angle on Lauren, and I was like, the lighting is incorrect. You have to light the scene, correctly. Otherwise, it's gonna look like trash, and I don't need any of my projects looking like trash because I'm trying to be a professional. I'm trying to be taken seriously. This is like going into a reel. This is coming out. People are gonna be viewing this. I need to speak correctly. So I was getting frustrated, and I was pacing my phone, and I don't even know what to do because I was like, the light's too bright, but now it's too dark, and then this ugly fluorescent lighting in Regents is not working. So what do? Do I take that light bulb out? And then we just kind of made it work. We had to bounce the light. We had to get the right angle. Stephanie came through. She at the last minute, we didn't call her. She just happened to because she lives in the building, so she just happened to walk in. We were like, Stephanie, Yeah, gotta stand there, here, hold this. And then she's like, oh, I'm gonna help. She's like, I only got 15 minutes. And then we just did it in 15 minutes. And then we had that scene go on its way. And in that scene, unintentionally, there was affinity because they were wearing the exact same color.
Oh, wow.
Eric and Brooke are wearing the exact same color. So they are both feeling similar emotions. They're both wearing the same color. That was just kind of happened to be coincidence. And I ended the show on Brooke going up the stairs, the ascension being played. She's ascending into closure, into happiness, into prosperity, and whatever you want to interpret that as. And we get left on the empty stairwell, and then it just fades to black. Because it is up to the audience to determine what is going to happen to them, given that there is no season 2. But there will be season 2 coming. Yes. We are working on the storyline for that, the title for that. What will be interesting to do. We will do a smaller cast because schedule.
Oh,
until we are rich.
Until we have money.
Until we are Issa Rae.
Yes.
Until we are Ava DuVernay. Until we
Yes.
are Tyler Perry.
Yes.
Ryan Coogler.
Hello.
We will keep the cast small.
Yes.
So that the casting can be and the shooting can be,
I'm excited.
a wonderful experience. And now you get to be on set because
Yes.
we will be living.
We will be living together. Yes.
So look out for season 2.
Woo-hoo.
Stories. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.
Bye.